Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Forgiven AF podcast. You guys know this is a second chance podcast. It's I use it as marketing material for our mentorship program. You guys know we have the nonprofit called Second Chance Mentors, where what we do is we work with kids that have been kicked out of school for either fighting or drugs. We help them get back into school. We pair them with a mentor. They do short-term, long-term goals. They have to have good attendance. They have to be passing their classes, and they have to do community service. So it's kind of a cool program to help these kids. The goal setting is something that I've seen a lot of fruit from, because a lot of kids, they just wander through life like just getting bounced off of different circumstances. But now, you know, when you start giving yourself a target to aim for, you're able to make decisions and life changes that are going to push you in that direction. And it's something that I didn't do. I kind of went in the wrong direction for a long time, just no purpose, you know. So we're trying to provide purpose to these kids, and we're trying to give them just a strong, you know, male role model that cares about them. A lot of these kids don't have that. So it's just kind of a cool opportunity. Let's see. So today I got my good friend Chris on. I'm excited about this episode because Chris and I, we opened our first gym together. We actually were in the halfway house, the federal halfway house together. So I'm really excited about my friend Chris Davila coming on here on this show. And I think that we have a good purpose to the end of this. I'll explain kind of why I wanted to do this episode. So Chris, thank you for being on the show.
Man, I appreciate it, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. I know you have a lot to offer, dude, especially, you know, doing life with you, and just, I'm excited for you to get some knowledge to share with some of these people on this podcast, you know? So you guys, Chris, like I said, Chris and I met in the halfway house, and we opened the first location of the gym together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Chris kind of start off with his story, you know, his upbringing, where he's from, kind of like his early years, and then we'll just kind of take it from there and kind of explain how we cross paths.
All right, my name is Chris Davila, and I was born January 24th, 1983. Makes me 41 years old. I don't have a story that's sad, and I don't have a story that I had a hard upbringing. I had a great life, great mom, great dad. Mom and dad still married, a loving brother, great household, hardworking family. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. Man, just the ideal family that you could wish for or want, I had. And I grew up happy, and I made some wrong decisions and made some few turns that were a deciding factor of my future. And that's where we're at right now, you know?
Yeah, and when we go back and we talk about the things that we've made, the decisions we've made in the past that have led us in the wrong direction, I want us to continue to be open and vulnerable with that. So hopefully someone listening can be like, oh, I was going to do that and not, you know what I mean? So like us being able to be real and vulnerable and raw with it is the point of this is to be able to help someone else. You know what I mean?
And I'm kind of like not into glorifying my past, but there's some past there.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. We're not trying to make it sound like the things were good that we went in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? But it's okay to share it so people can learn from it. What was the relationship like with your father?
And it was really beautiful. My father and I were close, laughed. You know, I went on family vacations, went camping. I was in Boy Scouts. I mean, my dad was a super present, super active, engaged. I mean, school projects, you name it. My dad was there. Like, what we had was soccer. You know, I grew up playing soccer, and that was our weekend thing, you know. A couple of times during the week had practice, so I had to spend some quality time with my dad there. My dad signed me up for soccer when I was young. My dad ended up becoming my coach. That's more quality time. It's really just beautiful, man.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, a lot of boys, especially in our program, don't have that, right? Like it's something that it's easy to look back, even me, and take that for granted. You know what I mean? But there's so many kids out there right now that are just being raised by single mothers or grandmothers and don't have a father around to speak into them and speak life. You know, we're lucky that we got to see it modeled for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty cool. So growing up, you know, you were doing good. You were playing sports, had a good relationship with family, had a great family. When did you start taking a turn kind of for the in the wrong direction?
In 6th grade, I decided I didn't want to play soccer anymore. And I think that put a dent kind of in the relationship between my father and I, because my brother and my father, they used to chase autographs, and that was their thing. And me and my dad, we had soccer. So when I stopped playing soccer, I have still to this day, I still feel a small tug at my heart because I know my dad saw the value in how good I was at the sport because of how much I had, been involved in it. Like, I gave it my all. Like,
he saw your potential.
I had so much potential. I could have taken it all the way to college.
And you just didn't.
I just stopped.
What happens, and this is what happened with me, and it happens with a lot of kids. I mean, I was forced to push through it, but we get burnt out. When you play sports when you're 5 until you're 18, you get to the point where you're almost like, ugh. You know what I mean? Or whatever, 5 until you're 15 or 12 or whatever. It's easy to get burnt out, especially if you feel like you're having to do it for someone else and it's not about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty common. So, what high school years? When did you start messing up? Like when did things start going in a different direction?
I partaked in some marijuana when I was a little kid, but it was like a one night deal.
Yeah.
But there it goes. I'm introduced. But I didn't take it any further than that. Matter of fact, it scared me. I didn't like the way I felt, And that was like probably in elementary school around 5th grade. In 7th grade, I got involved with football. Just in 7th grade, wasn't my thing, after 7th grade, I got heavy into skateboarding, and so now I'm riding around the neighborhood skateboarding and stuff. And I think I was introduced to a few more things and different cultures and different lifestyles, just running around in the neighborhood with the different kids and stuff.
Yeah. We have spoken this before. Didn't you kind of feel like there was a point in time where like music and movies and things like that were playing an influence on what you decided to do?
Yeah, so I'm 41. So I grew up in the culture where gangster rap was first around. They playing, Boys in the Hood, New Jack City, movies like that. They were in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And it really highlighted the gang life. It really highlighted drugs and selling drugs and just that whole culture. And I believe that subconsciously by indulging myself into that all the time, it programmed me for a future date. Yeah. Whenever I came across it was instant, like 2 and 2.
I've heard of that. I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've heard that before. Yeah,
that's how it happened. And then I'm interested instantly.
Yeah, and it's crazy you say that because, and I can actually name like the movies like straight up in the music, like Young Jeezy. Was always the snowman, always talking about selling coke, right? And like I said before, I was the little white kid from the suburbs that got done school and went and hung out in the hood. Like, that's just where I felt comfortable. It's like what I wanted to do. And I thought, that was the coolest thing in the world, the selling drugs, that part of that life. Like I took that like as my identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when you listen to a lot of rap music, you start to know the lyrics. So you're singing them, but you don't even know what you're singing about.
Yeah.
And later on in life, I had been talking about blunts and stuff all this time when I was a little kid, didn't even know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then once someone said, hey, this is a blunt, I was like, oh, I got to have that.
Yeah. Oh, I've been singing about that for years.
I got to
cool.
have that,
Yeah.
and then, you know how the story goes.
100%. But I don't think that people realize how much of an impact what we listen to. And you had something that you said to me one time before about like your ears or listen what you hear.
Yeah.
You remember what it was?
Yeah. The gates. You got eye holes, ear holes. What you watch injects to the subconscious mind, and what you listen to subjects into the subconscious mind.
And I don't think that people take that as serious as it is. I mean, like
it's very serious.
Even my wife is always pushing me on it because I'll sometimes try to defend it, like, oh, it's just entertainment. Like I'm just listening to this for entertainment. Because she'll be like, are you sure you want to hear that like around your son, or you want? I'm like, it's just entertainment. Like you don't take it serious. But I've said that a lot of times, but I don't believe that, and I don't feel that that's true. Like I know for a fact you can be manipulated by music and movies and stuff that is just entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's how advertisements works.
Yeah,
so it's the same deal.
It is the same thing. So now you start you're skateboarding, you're messing with other drugs. You start hanging out with the wrong crowd, or that's normally the next step?
Yeah, well, I started picking up cigarettes and smoking cigarettes, and just thinking that was cool, and running around the neighborhood, and breaking into abandoned houses, just mischief, just vandalizing houses, tagging on, just
back when kids used to ride their bike around and actually hang out instead of nowadays we just sit stuck on these devices.
I was always around the neighborhood on my bike.
We were always on our bike and skateboards too. It's funny. So then what happened? So now you're starting to mess up.
So I'm starting to mess up, and we get into 9th grade, and now all the schools converge. So when you have elementary school, it was like mostly the kids from the neighborhood in elementary school. Then when you had 7th and 8th grade, it was just a little bit. Now you got all these different area codes all coming to the 9th grade center. So there's so many more kids, so many different cultures, so many different beliefs, and Now I got a wide range of people to choose to hang out with. I started playing soccer again in 9th grade because I had a tug on my heart thinking, man, hey, I want to make my dad proud again. So I signed up for soccer because it was an elective. You know, I didn't want to be in class. I'd rather just be somewhere, you know. So I signed up for soccer again. And then because of various reasons, I got kicked off the team, a rebellious state of mind. I got kicked off the team. And now I have a little bit, I'm kind of like loathing now. Like I feel a little bit embarrassment. People that were on my soccer team don't want to talk to me anymore because of what I did. And so now the people who do accept me, and the people who aren't judgmental to me, are the people who are negative influencing me.
Yeah.
We kind of like, I just kind of got subjected to that, you know?
Yeah, no, and I totally feel that too. I did the same thing in high school. Started hanging out with the crowd that was into the same stuff. Like,
you want to know the reason? Because we want to feel accepted.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. We're gonna go to where you feel accepted, and if it's around the kids that are doing drugs, then good luck making it out of that.
And it seems so minuscule, and it seems so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I have always had this hole inside of me, and growing up, this hole was always there, and I could never figure out what. Like I felt this emptiness inside of me, and I always tried to fill it with girls and drugs and money and cars, and it was never able to be full. And I don't mean to go like extreme and be like cliche, but until like I started inserting God into that hole and making him the staple, you know what I mean? I continued to make the same mistakes and do the same stuff over and over again because there's a hole inside of us.
I totally agree, because that hole in me was confidence. Like, you know, everybody's born with special gifts and talents and beliefs and values and creeds, where they come from, and morals and stuff like that. I just didn't ever believe in myself. I didn't believe I was good enough. I didn't believe that I looked good enough. I didn't believe that I was smart enough. So I found value and I found resources in other people.
Do you think when your confidence is not there, that you're more liable to fall influence to people, or like, you know, does that make sense?
All the way through, because I can tell you when my life changed is when I started working out and being fitness, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
And I got to looking good. Now I got to feeling good, and the belief in myself changed. It got rewired by my hard work. I'm getting my 6-pack. I'm getting slim. You know, we grew up with He-Mans and all that. And all of the little action figures, they all had big chests, big arms, abs. I always idolized that, you know?
Yeah. That's good.
There's more into that, and I want to get into that in a minute once we get past into the story.
That's good. So now we're in high school. What happens in high school now? You're starting to experiment here and there with drugs. And
so in 10th grade, I met a girl. So from the summer from 9th grade to 10th grade, my mom caught me smoking weed, and she found a little bag of cocaine. It was an empty bag, but my dad knew what it was. My mom didn't. So they made me go to a drug rehab over the summer. But it was, I had to like choose to be there. Like, they couldn't force me. I had to say, yeah, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So we went there, and I was like, when they told me that, well, this is a self-volunteer program, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I thought my mom and dad were making me go. That's the only reason why I went. So we went out in the lobby, and I saw all the kids coming in, and it sounds kind of funny, but I saw this girl walk past, and the lady was sitting right there, and I was like, who's those people? Because I was kind of interested in the girl, and I was like, who's those people? Oh, those are the people that be in your class. I was like, well, sign me up. Yeah, I want to go. I think it's kind of funny, but I did. That ended up being my son's mother. I met my son's mom there, which was, I'm so glad I decided to stay. Even if it was for the wrong reason, a beautiful thing happened because of it.
Yeah, that's cool. So you ended up, if I remember correctly, you ended up getting her pregnant in high school, right?
Yeah, I got her pregnant, and then she had the baby while I was in 10th grade, and I dropped out of.
What was your reasoning? Did you think that you were going to work to support the kid? Or?
I thought I needed to go get a job and be a man, but I didn't even do that.
Yeah.
I quit because I really wanted to quit, and I didn't have value or whatever. So I quit. I used it as an excuse. Got out of school, had my mom and dad sign me out of school, told them I want to go to get a job, take care of my kid. And they were for that.
Yeah.
But once again, manipulation at its finest.
If that was really where your heart was, it would have been good, but that was just
and it wasn't, because I knew I was selling weed, and I knew the money was going to come in. And so I ventured down, getting lost into the dope game at that point.
That drug life, yeah. And then not to just cut all this off, but for the next 20-ish years, you're kind of in and out of prison, right?
Man, in and out.
So pretty much I remember you told me before. So from when you were 18 to now, you've done like, is it 16 years of prison?
Yeah. So,
and I'm not trying to say that to make you feel bad or highlight it. I just want people to understand the story.
Man, listen, you grow through what you go through in life, man. I am who I am today because of what I went through.
And one thing I share with people openly is those 7 years in federal prison were the best thing that ever happened to me.
I mean, I've been in and out. Of course, I've came home. These ain't calendar years.
Yeah.
But I went to a drug rehab, came out, went back in, you know, the whole vicious cycle, because I would come back out and I went right back in the dope game.
Yeah.
I went back to what I know. Sell dope, make some money.
Yeah. So that's a pretty common path to get stuck into. You know what I mean? Because people are like, man, that's all I know. Or they get out of prison, they have to find a job, and they're making $7 an hour, and they're like, man, I can go re-up right now and go make a couple $1,000s in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to go work for $7 an hour and make my life miserable? You know what I mean? Like, I see that cycle, but what we have to try to do to break that is have opportunities for men getting out of prison where they're not looked at as like just a felon, but no, here's an opportunity. You know what I mean?
What glitters isn't always gold.
Yeah. So we got to try to find a way to, and that's the whole prison system. Like, we need to do better at when men get out of, you know, having opportunities for them. And that's a complete side note, but it's something that I think is super important. So now we're almost to the time where we met, right? This is the cool part of the story. So we, go ahead, you tell this.
So I ended up catching a gun charge, and I already was a felon at this point. So I ended up in the federal system, and this is what I want to go and go back to. I said earlier in the show that I wanted to touch on something, and this is how I said fitness gave me my confidence, right? Fitness gave me my confidence, and how it happened was reading a book. So I'm in my cell, I'm bored, and I got a book. It's called Coming Back Stronger, and it's a memoir of Drew Brees, the quarterback. And I've already spoke about the action figures. I've always spoke about what attracted me. I was like, oh man, I want to look like that. I want to be strong. I want to be powerful. You know, that's the male ego. And I read a sentence in there, and Drew Brees, after he had blew his shoulders out when he was with the Chargers, and he was going over to, what was it? The
New
Saints.
Orleans, yeah.
He was going over there. He had to rehab his shoulder. And he realized at that point, he was trying to give up. And then and in the book it said, the only person that's ever stopped me from doing what I wanted to do was myself. I closed that book. I put my bookmark in, closed that book. I rolled over. I started doing push-ups. That's how my fitness journey started. From that sentence, from that line. And so I know that, like, what we do, what we listen to, what we read creates opportunity.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so then basically at the same time, which is kind of funny, me and you are both in the federal system, both just literally working on growth and fitness, you know what I mean? And how to, so we're at the halfway house, right? I've been there for a little bit. You show up. We do a workout together. You ask me if we work out. I do. I kind of blow you. I try to blow you off.
They
a little
make
bit.
you do a furlough. I was on 21-hour bus ride. I was in North Carolina. Took me 21 hours to get back. I had to sit at the table in the cafeteria, and I had to take a UA. I was so in a state of shock for being out that I was nervous, and I couldn't use the restroom. So I sit there for a while, like 3 or 4 hours. It sucked. You came in. I hadn't talked to anybody. I mean, I was looking down. You came in. I saw some running shoes, and I instantly look up, and you got your headphones on. You got a little sweat towel, and I was like, "Hey, did you go for a run?" You was like, "No, they got weights down there." I was like, "Hey, man, let's work out tomorrow," because I'm trying to continue to work out. I've been working out for almost 6 years, and or 5 years, something like that. And you responded to me, "Nah, I don't work out with anybody." I was like, "Why not?" And you was like, "I'll drop them off." I was like, "Man, come on, heck, we're fixing to go work out tomorrow." He's like, "All right, 5 o'clock when I get off work." I think you were working at some kind of restaurant at this time.
Yeah.
And we went out there, and man, you didn't play no games with me that day.
No, I'll never forget that entire workout.
You was trying to break me.
Yeah, it was a really hard workout. I think I almost broke myself, but you finished it, and we kind of formed a bond like from that day on. You know what I mean? That was just kind of like an agreed on respect sort of thing. You know, when it comes to fitness, and you got someone that can keep up with you, because we were grinding in prison. And I came out of prison in crazy good shape. And
I'm not saying this. I'm not just trying to like blow your head up or anything like that. But I think I should say this. Like, so the following week, I still kind of like was being introverted and not speaking to anybody because I'm just trying to get the feel for things. But every time you walked into cafeteria and sat down and you had people around you, it seemed like your laughter was, you had a big laugh, you seemed happy, you had a glow, you had confidence, you worked out. And I was like, I kind of was like, man, I got to meet this guy. Like, I'd already met you, we already worked out, but I was just like, I started seeing like attributes of you that I knew that if I could pull from,
that's good,
then I could grow. And you know, it just so happened that, you know, that's how it played out.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that, because that's cool.
It was big, you know. Like,
so then we get kind of separated here for a little bit. I get a job at Freddie's gym. Our guest from last week, Freddie Flawless Jenkins. I'm working at his gym, and I meet my wife, or you know, at the time she was just a girlfriend, and she, you know, hey, let's open our own gym. So me and her, you know, we're putting all the pieces together. And I'm like, man, we need a trainer. Like, I need another trainer. And you're immediately the first person I thought about. I was like, man, I know he's worked out. He's tough. He works out good. He's got, you know, he's good looking. No homo or nothing. But I'm like, he's good looking, and he's got everything that it'll take. So I remember, I think I reached out to you, and then I want you to tell the story about 24-hour fitness, because that was kind of random.
Yeah. So before I do that, I would like to say this: that when people go to prison, they're so subjected to boredom that they find an outlet, you know, and that's fitness mainly, you know, fitness or reading or whatever. And so a lot of people, they work out there because they're bored. But when they get out in the real world and they got real world problems and they got to go to work and they got to pay bills, they don't find time to fitness.
Yeah.
And I had just learned about Facebook Live. So I'm doing all kinds of fitness videos. And I know that Shawn's seen, man, this dude's still working out. A lot of people quit working out when they get out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Same place they leave their Bible.
Exactly. And so I think Shawn saw that. And matter of fact, it was about, I don't know, maybe about a month after I got out of Halfway House. I was working doing home remodels. And my boss and them were going to Home Depot to go get some materials and stuff. And I begged them. Took me a while to convince them to drop me off. What is it, Mountain Creek?
Walnut Creek
off 287 in Mansfield, Texas, at the 24-hour fitness. Now, if you've ever been to 24-hour fitness, you know they got a whole line of treadmills. There's probably at least 15. No one was there. It was early in the morning, and there was a guy running in the center of the treadmills, and I started on the first one, and I ran for about 5 minutes, and I was like, man, I don't even want to do this right now. So I moved closer to the guy running in the center to get motivation from him, you know, like a workout partner. And about 10 minutes into my run, I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's Shawn. He had a towel over his head, so I couldn't see his face. And you know, our paths crossed again. Still at this point, you know, we just said hi and bye, really. Hey, I'm opening up a gym. I was like, cool, man. Let me know how it goes.
Didn't I say to you, though, like, hey, I want to take you? Because I remember, like, the next day or something.
No, so what happened was that weekend, I went home, and I was at Cotton Patch with my mom, and I made a post on Facebook, which I can probably go back in my Facebook somewhere along the lines and find it. But I made a post saying how unhappy I was, because when I was in the feds, that's all I wanted to do was fitness. You know, I wanted to get out and be a trainer. I wanted to do all this. I had all these high hopes, but life came on me.
I do remember that post.
I continued to work out, and but I wasn't happy. I was on my knees all the time, laying tile. My back hurt. I'm working 16 hours a day, and I'm going to the gym in the morning, and I'm going to the gym at night. I'm dead tired. I don't have no time for friends, or live, anything. I just work and go to the gym and go to sleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Well, I made a post. My mom was ordering, and I made a post, and I said, 9 months ago, I got released from prison, and I'm not happy with how my life is going. Everything's going good. I'm still sober. God's good. Everything's live. But I'm not following my dream. I'm not doing what I really want to do, my passion, which is fitness. And I said, if I could go back 9 months ago, I would just go straight into fitness. And I hit it, put the phone down, made my order, and by the time I got my phone back in my hands, I already had a comment on it that was you saying, hey, what are you doing Friday, man? I want to take you over to Freddie's gym and see if you want to be a trainer.
Yeah.
It's history.
And we went over there, and right away, Freddie was like, you remember seeing everyone all hype in the gyms? And
man, that's funny you say that too, because once again, I'm dealing with a confidence issue. That's what's been holding me back. And I remember we go in there, and normally I'm kind of reserved, kind of like I was in a halfway house, introvert, don't know anybody, just kind of get a feel of the environment. I instantly, everything felt unforced. I walked in there. Freddie was cool. Crystal was right there. McBride?
Greg.
Greg was training, and everything was cool. We started laughing and having some quality conversations going back and forth between Freddie and I. And Freddie made a comment, and this is a turning point in my life. Freddie made a comment. He said, "Dang," you know how he says "dang"? He said, "Dang, where'd you get this dude at?"
Yeah.
And you stepped in front of me, put your arm out, and said, "This is my trainer."
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
at that point, I was like, "Dang, I'm valuable.
Hell yeah.
I'm valuable." And he sees value in me. I said, "Man, this is my dog right here."
That's cool.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm his trainer."
So then what we do is we start doing free workouts at a park in Mansfield, and we have that place bumping, 50 people sometimes. And I remember they still make jokes and stuff about the fire ants.
Fire ants,
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
funny.
we even had people who were running workouts at that park, like as they're like that they were being paid for, complaining to the city about us but the city couldn't do nothing because we were doing free workouts. Now, during that time, we were having our gym actually built out, right? So it was crazy. By the time we even opened, we converted like almost all those people to members. You know what I mean? Which is almost unheard of.
So what was a valuable movement was, I remember saying to Shawn, or maybe it was Shawn's idea, I don't remember exactly how it played out, but he was like, "Hey, yeah, we're still building the gym out." And I was like, "Well, look, on Saturdays, let's just do a workout in the parking lot behind it and have the gym open, and they can see it being built so they can like grow with us."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we started having, on Wednesday night, we had
At Catherine Rose Park,
and then on Saturday morning,
we had it behind the gym.
and we'd open the door up and they were watching it being built.
Yeah. So it was really cool. And that gym just took off. So we do good. We're grinding. We're growing that gym. It's doing awesome. And then about, I don't know, let's just say 6 months down the road or something like that.
Not even that, about 3 months later, man.
3 months later.
Well, we got the gym open up.
And go ahead. You tell the story. You try to do the right thing. And
Yeah, like we got the gym up. We're building the clientele. People are getting used to me training. It's just, man, it's beautiful. And I'm now living my purpose.
Yeah.
I'm living my dream. And when I came home from the feds, one of the things I know I needed to do, and I was just to be honest with myself and with everybody around me, so that I didn't have to hide anything. I didn't have to think about what I was saying to these people. I was just going to be honest, even if it hurt me, even if it made me look bad. I'm just going to be honest. And I lied to my federal probation officer about who I worked for. I didn't really lie. I just didn't add all the details in. And I said I only worked for Christy because Shawn was on federal probation. I was on federal probation, and I can't have someone on federal probation be responsible for me unless we get it approved, which I didn't think they were going to do that because I thought that was against the rules. So I just lied about it. But then she was wanting to come to do one of my visits at my work, and Chrissy wasn't going to be there. And she asked me, "Is Christy there so I can meet your boss?" And I was like, "No." And I didn't want to lie. So I said, "I have to just go ahead and meet me up there." So I hung the phone up. I called Shawn. I said, "Hey, man, I got to be honest with her. I got to tell her about you." And Shawn was like, "Man, I wonder what she's going to say." We were both kind of worried. I said, "Man, I just got to be honest." And Shawn says, "Look, man, if it's in your heart, like, you know what I mean, follow your heart. Like, we'll make it through it."
Yeah.
So I hung up. I called her back, and she was like, "Man, that was super big of you to come and call me and be honest like that. Like, you know, but don't ever go back there. You can't work there anymore."
And I remember you called me. I was sitting outside of 24 Hour Fitness, and it was like someone kicked me in the stomach.
Man.
And I know I said this before, but it's like, I remember the most important thing for me right then, like right away, was to literally was to make sure. I mean, I immediately got on the phone with Freddie and said, "Hey, man, can Chris come train for you? Like, can Chris, like, they're not letting us work together."
It's that same night.
Same day.
You already had it linked up. But what happened was it created a lane for us to be transparent because we're both felons. We're both believe in second chances.
Yeah.
And we both hadn't not been honest with the clients. We just didn't offer it.
Yeah.
So they might have seen the tattoos or anything, but they weren't questioning it. They were loving us. We were treating them fair. They were getting fit. We were having fun. But you had to break it to them that I wasn't going to be training there anymore because I can't just come up missing.
Yeah.
So it created an opportunity for us to be transparent, which I think the gym still stands on to this day because of that transparency.
I think that a lot of people did know, but not everyone knew. But we did have to break it to him when we explained the truth, because I wasn't going to make up a lie for why you had to leave, you know? So we were just real honest. We said, hey, man, look, we're both on federal probation.
It was so funny, too,
they're not going
because
to let us work together.
I posted my PO's email trying to say, hey, look, we love him, we love him. And they were flooding her. And my PO called me, man, I love the members, man. They're badass. You know what I mean? She was like, you're going to have to tell them to quit doing my email. I can't even find, you know, because they were like flooding. They wanted me, you know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
I remember that. We tried to get her to send all the emails.
I mean, we tried to do everything we could.
Yeah.
She told me something that I've carried with me forever. She's like, listen, she called me in there, and I thought I was going back to jail, because she was like, you need to show up. And I was like, oh, man. So I took Jen up there with me and everything. But she told me something that still sticks with me. She's like, this is a stumbling block. Now, you can pick it up. You can leave it behind you and go forward, or you can pick that stumbling block up with you, and the next time you have a stumble, you can use this one to help you get over that.
Yeah.
And I still, to this day, like...
That was good. At least she wasn't just like a total...
No, she was fair.
Yeah, that's cool.
If I'd have been honest, she told me. If you'd have just told me, I'd have let you work there.
So then about a year or so after that, you're working for Freddie for about a year. Maybe not even that long. Maybe
I think it was.
About a year. So you're training for Freddie for about a year. And then... eventually, you were allowed to come back. What?
So I ended up getting a new PO. Like every quarter or whatever, I had my first probation officer. Her caseload got too much. God's moving in my life at this point, you know. And he gave me a new PO. Like I say, when you first get a PO, they have to come to your job to see your place of work. So I was in the middle of training, but I'm live at 5 now. Like, I'm so comfortable on the mat. Like, I'm energetic. I'm motivating people. I've been motivating people. So now, like, man, it's beautiful. And he walked into a beautiful thing and saw me motivating people. And he too himself was motivated. And he just about to leave. And I said, hey, I got a question. And he's like, what's up? What's up? And I was like, man, can I go back to work for Shawn? And he was like, yeah, I don't care where you work. I'm like, well, I got to explain what's going on.
Yeah.
So I explained the situation. He was like, man, I don't even worry about what she's got going on. If this is what you're going to do over there, go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then you went on vacation. You went to California. And then
I went to California and I came back. And it was a sad deal. I had to tell Freddie, man. I love Freddie, man.
Freddie's a great. I know he was the best man at my wedding. He took it well, and he knew me and you were locked in together. You know what I'm saying? He knew that it wasn't a forever thing. But losing a good trainer for when you have a gym is hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. So he had to kind of go through that. But if I remember correctly, they had an awesome sending off party for you. Like it wasn't like
I still have pictures of that day. Yeah. I still have pictures. I look at all the time. They made a big cake.
Vans cake and stuff.
Yeah, I wear nothing but Vans, you know. And so he had a Chris Stay Off the Wall cake. Yeah. It was red velvet cupcakes. I think one of the members made. They jam-packed the house, and I got to work out with all of them. So I was sweaty. Cool. No, it was
that just shows on Freddie's character. You know what I mean? Like, he could have been upset about it and be like, no, man, just go. But he still had you know what I mean?
And I saw that. I saw the hurt. Yeah. I heard it in his voice. His voice cracked. But such a good guy. Wish me good blessings, man. And
he's still there for us today. Like he was our last podcast guest from last week. So you guys
I love Freddie, man.
Know a little bit about who Freddie is.
That's a great guy.
So so you come back, you're working for us. We end up doing a bodybuilding show.
Yeah, I come back from Venice Beach, and through one of the members, I meet a guy named Jeff, and he's a bodybuilder, and he showed me some pictures, and
he put us on a plan, and you were like, hey, come on, Shawn, do one show with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man, I'll do one with you. And we went all in on it. We went all in. And I'll never forget, during our prep, you were like, hey, man, let's do this 30-mile Spartan Ultra. It'll be easy. And I'm like, what? You're like, man, I'm doing it untrained. I'll never forget. You ran the whole race talking about, I'm untrained. Like, yeah.
And you don't do that, you know.
I had never ran farther than like 3.5 miles. And me and you went out there, and just off of your motivation and, like you said, your belief that I could do this, but we ran a 9-hour, 30-mile Spartan race with 60 obstacles. That's one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yeah, it's a 30 to 32 mile.
Yep.
in the Spartan race, they have a sprint, a super, and a beast, and the ultra is you got to go around the beast track twice.
Yeah, so it's 30 miles.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that, man. It rained real hard. It was slipping in mud.
All muddy.
I twisted my knee in the very beginning.
The first mile.
And I had to run on a bad knee for 29 more miles. And
yeah, that was rough. And then it was mud. So every step, your legs would slide out. I remember my groin was jacked up for like
that was tough.
2 weeks after that.
Yeah, that was rough.
So we get through that. We do our bodybuilding show. But during the bodybuilding show, and this is, you got injured. Remember, you did something to you. And you're already dealing with the knee stuff. You had a bunch of kind of, go ahead with that.
Man, you know, when I started doing fitness, I started working out kind of wrong. I was doing a lot of high impact stuff, jumping and plyometric type movements, and I burned my knees and my hips down. But I had never pulled a muscle. And, but you know, once again, I'm a body weight cardio guy. So I'm started working around this iron. Of course, I'm only 5'6". I'm a smaller guy. But Shawn and Jeff, they're both 6 foot plus. And so they're lifting big weights. And I'm like, man, you know, I want to lift big weights too. So I pulled my hamstring doing leg curls. And
it was in the middle of a prep. So it wasn't like you were just going to stop working out.
I had 3 weeks to the stage.
Yeah.
And I was, man, once I get my mind and my sights set on something, man, I'm fixing to hit the target. And Jeff kept telling me, man, the difference between first and second is who wanted it more. And I was like, well, I want it more. I want it more, you know. And so I'm going to get the stage, you know what I'm saying? And I started taking hydrocodones to numb it down. And I was just taking one for every 2-hour workout. So I had six a week. But you know how the story goes. I got to pass with it.
Yeah, you know how that goes. It's just any sort of drugs that I've ever been on, I just try to start it off and I can't contain it and it just takes control, you know?
I stubbed out my addiction by finding fitness, and now I'm mixing addiction and fitness and, it, you know.
So down the road, you know, a couple months, and then we had a certain point where at the gym you were like, you kind of had an idea. You're like, man, I think I want to go do something else. So we did this kind of same thing. We kind of split up from the gym for a little bit, and during that period, me and you didn't talk a whole lot during that little bit of that period, but
life was happening, and I don't say we weren't on bad terms or anything like that. I was just had an entrepreneurial itch, and I wanted to go see if I, you know, because you instilled that kind of value in me. I'm like, man, my boy, he's got his business and he's doing his thing, and I'm like, I never had a belief in myself until you said, hey, this is my trainer. Well, the belief turned into a confidence, and my confidence by watching you over the years, like, be successful. I was like, man, I want to do that too. So I just ventured out. And while I was venturing out, I got into the construction trade and windows and doors and such. And I started, you know, in fitness, you got people who are like-minded, mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. We're keeping our mind off of drugs to stay sane. We're keeping our body fit. And then our soul, you know, we find something that we like to, you know, dig into, mind, body, and soul, whatever it is that you fall into. But I started mingling around with people that were just doing 9 to 5s. They weren't doing mind, body. They're eating nachos and Doritos and Taco Bell and at lunch break.
And in that construction world, doing drugs and drinking all day.
16-hour days, back-breaking work, you know what I mean? Always dirty, you know. And so I got introduced, and I have a history with drugs, and, you know, I got back on some substances and started selling a little bit and trying to get caught up, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, it ain't about shame. That's not why I'm bringing this up for you. But
no, it's not. It's just that's just the way the story goes.
Yeah, so we end up getting a little bit of trouble and get sent back to prison.
I got pulled over. I had some usage stuff on me, and I ended up getting 4 years, whatever. And through that, Shawn reached out to me. He found out I was back in prison. He reached out to me. He believes in second chances, and he's never not been my friend. He's always been there for me no matter what. And
me and Christy wanted to ride it out with you. You know what I mean? Like, we enjoyed being able to be there for you. I know what it's like to be in prison and be, you know, not having an avenue. You know, and my mom didn't bless me very much in prison. She wasn't going to reward me for being locked up. You know what I mean? But I know what it's like to not be able to make commissary, you know, so we tried to be there and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just want people to kind of understand. So I had no issues. I was excited for you to come back and train for us. Like, the entire time I kept, like, I literally was praying. I mean, who was the first person to find out you were getting out?
You?
Like, I was stalking the freaking TDC page to find out when you were getting out because I was excited.
Yeah, it was a glory road because financially my parents had me, you know, and just by the grace of God, you know, the relationship that we have and the history that we have, that, you know, y'all were able to send me books that were able to allow me to, you know, search myself and try to regrow.
Yeah,
back
Christy's really serious about her reading and her, her Christian books with, and a lot of self-help Christian stuff. So
she would send me so many books.
She's
blessing.
Good. She's a blessing. She's good. That's her heart is to help people like that, and that's one thing that's really special about her. So, but I want to while you're in prison this time, and I want to make sure we hit on this. Can we talk about the faith dorm and how you got into that and the impact it had?
So I kept hearing about the faith-based dorm, and I didn't want to be around all the strife and all the negative stuff. So everybody was telling me, just go to a faith-based dorm, and it's predominantly positive. So that's what I wanted to do because I wanted to grow. I didn't want to be involved in all that other stuff. So I've signed up. I waited a month. They called me down there. But in between that month waiting, everybody talked so much crap about it, and I listened to them that I denied it. But it took me 180 days after that to get back into it. And that was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Funny story. I was at a marriage conference with my wife, and I'm really good friends with the Gateway prison pastor. He's the head of Gateway prison pastors. Stephen Wilson does an awesome job with that. Really impacts a lot of prisons. And we're talking, and he goes, "Hey man, so I want to introduce you to I forget the guy's name.
His name is Chaplain Hill.
Chaplain Hill. He's like, I want to introduce you to Chaplain Hill. He is actually the head chaplain of the faith-based dorm in the Buster Cole unit." And immediately Christy looked at me. She was like, "Buster Cole." And I was like, "I think my buddy Chris Davila's in Buster Cole." He goes, "You know Chris Davila?" He goes, he's in there. You know what I mean? He said good things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was funny because I was actually doing burpee box jumps on top of one of the tables, just being crazy. And he walked in and he said, "Hey, Chris, we got a mutual friend." And I looked at him dead in his eyes and I said, "Who, Sean Surface?" And he's like, "How'd you know that?" I was like, "Man, he's my only friend out there." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's funny. But he was cool. And I felt like, because then you got to stay in that dorm. You're only supposed to do it for 6 months? But you got to do that.
It's a 6-month program. You're supposed to do one title and then boom.
But you got to do it how many, 3 times?
I stayed in there for 19 months.
Because you were helping mentor people, right?
I was helping mentor people, and I had nine disciples that I was mentoring and leading on. I was doing a little workout for people in there, and it was beautiful.
That is awesome. So then we find out you're coming home, and now here we are. You know what I mean? You've been home for 3 weeks and absolutely killing it back on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing good stuff. You're super helpful. Like, we love having you around. The gyms, the members love you. Members are excited to have you back. And one thing I want to touch on real quick, the main reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I want to add that accountability aspect to your life. Like, I want all of our thousands of listeners to be excited, in a couple months when we check back in again and say, "Hey man, where's he at now?" Because I know with me personally, 75 Hard was one of the hardest programs I've ever done. I think the only reason I was able to do it and not quit was because I posted it on social media that I was doing it. And to me, other people's opinions of me sticking to what I said got me through it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to use that same approach that's why I wanted you to come do this podcast, because now you have thousands of people that know your story, know where you're at. And if anything does happen, if you do have "Hey man, I kind of want to go left," I want you to think, "Dang man, but Shawn's entire audience knows me and where I'm at now." You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So I appreciate the opportunity to get on this platform, and
because you have a ton to offer, bro. You're like I said to your motivation, the way you motivate people. We're back 3 weeks into one of the hardest workout programs that I've done in a long time, and it's because you're here doing it with me. The bodybuilding show, best shape I've ever looked in my life. I look like an action figure. Wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for you pushing. 30-mile Spartan race. All the hardest things I've done fitness-wise have been behind your crazy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, you get these crazy ideas and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go run 100 miles right now." And I'm like, "What?" Man. And you're like, "No, I'm serious." And I'm like, "Bro, you're crazy. Okay, let's go." You know what I mean? That's kind of, okay, let's go. I'll do the best that I can.
Yeah.
I have chills right now talking about it because God has a purpose for your life, bro. That's something big. And I tell you what, it's outside of yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
It's not what Chris can do for Chris. I promise. That's not your gift. Do you know what I mean?
And I know when you meet somebody on a podcast and you're going through a life story, you got to kind of be transparent and go through some little backstories. But I do want to say this. The only time I've ever been successful in my life, the only time I ever had anything worthwhile was when I decided to stay sober when I came home from prison. And I did that. And I was pretty successful. I had some good things going. I had a house, got married, and everything was good.
A few cars.
But I built it on sand. And what I mean by that is I thought that I could do this on my own, and I can't.
No.
I know that I have to build on sturdy ground and a rock.
God's got to be that foundation.
God is my rock.
Because we'll give up on ourselves. You know
I just wanted to declare that. So
that's
that God is my rock, and that's what I've built this on.
Yeah.
So that I know
that's good.
It's gonna last and test the time. You know what I mean?
That's really good. One last thing I want you to hit on that's really important to this show, and this is what we do, is kind of can you give us kind of, if you could give yourself advice at 16 years old, or one of the boys in our mentorship program that is 16 years old, what would be a piece of advice you would give them that you think that could impact them long term?
I would probably have to say start adding value to yourself right now. Emotionally, spiritually, physically,
So when you say adding value, are you saying like work on growth?
Yeah, because I think a lot of the youth, they don't have a sense of self, and they act on emotions, and they also act on a belief that they're believing that's false. So I think you have to have a belief in yourself. And the only way you have to love yourself, and you have to just love yourself for who you are. God created everybody unique and equal. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, no one's better than no man. No woman's no better than no woman. So I think my thing was at 16 years old, I act on emotions. Someone said anything to me negative, I acted out. I couldn't internalize it and then verbally speak my mind stable. I was unstable because I acted on emotions.
So you just blew everything out of proportion?
I always did. The thing about constructive criticism, when someone is speaking constructive criticism, it's very, very easy for us to fly off the handle because we don't realize that the person actually taking the time, that they care enough to see value in us and tell us.
That's good.
It's not that they're trying to put us down, but it seems like it in the moment.
It does, because it hurt. We hold ourselves, every human being wants to maintain perfection, okay? But anytime that's questioned, it's a hit on our ego, right? Like, hey, man, I want to give you this advice. Sometimes all a person hears is, you're not perfect. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
That's right.
The only thing they hear, you're not perfect. And you're like, I mean, of course, don't get me wrong. We know that no one's perfect. But in our mind, or you're not even good. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we hear.
Or I'm better than you.
Or and that's what we hear, or people hear. And I was the same way. I have a big struggle of mine. But one thing you have to realize with that, and especially if anyone's listening to this, take this for account. If someone goes out of their way to give you constructive criticism that cares about you, it would have been easier for them to keep their mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? Like
everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to look kind of spectacular or whatever. And if someone's giving you constructive criticism, and I want you to understand and absorb what I'm saying. If somebody's giving you constructive criticism and you take it well, that really does make you look strong.
Yeah,
it really does make you look, you know.
If you're able to take that.
I want to say all my formative years where I was doing bad, I had this outlook that the world was against me. That's my question. Why is the world against me? Things didn't start to change until I realized it was me against myself the whole time.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So you guys, listen, we're going to wrap that up right there. We're going to leave that with that advice. One thing that I want to touch on, I should have started with this, and this was heartbreaking last week when I found out that, so VH1, I told you guys last week that my show was going to be on Tuesday on VH1. Well, they actually postponed it. The reason that they gave me was kind of weird. I don't know how legit it is, but that the network is being bought by Paramount, or Paramount was selling to Tyler Perry, and they're like putting a hold on all of the work that they paid to have done. So like with my show, they had to pay to do our episode. They're just playing movies and stuff for now until they get that all right. They said they're still going to play the episode. They put a bunch of money into flying us out there and hiring actors and stuff. So they said they're still going to play it, but they had to put a hold on it, which kind of broke my heart because I've been telling all these people. I put a whole podcast out saying, hey, watch this episode. But I'm really going to believe that God has a purpose for holding off. Maybe it just wasn't the right time for my, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe it'll have more impact later or something, but that's kind of my hope for now.
And I'd like to say that if you would like to follow my progress and stuff, you can find me on Facebook. My name's Chris Davila, spelled ChrisDavila. I got my shirt off, I'm flexing, and I'm at in front of a concert thing. If you want to just follow me and follow my progress and help me with my accountability, because I need all I can get.
No, that's a good idea. So people can, be part of your journey and watch what's going on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
I'm not nothing special, but if you want to,
No, it's cool. You have a lot to offer. You are something special. Also, if you guys could help out, if you guys be willing to just leave a comment on this or share it or, leave us a review, anything like that would be really helpful so we can get this content out to help the world. I want you guys to remember that you're loved and you're forgiven and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.